you're saying the margin is going to be bigger.
Yes, the margin is bigger.
I guarantee you 70% of Tesla owners don't even know about that.
Long-time supporter, course member.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for being a member.
You and your course helped me get a job. Love your shows. Keep going.
Thank you so much.
Hey everyone, me Kevin here. Wow, I have to say, going to the shareholder meeting was a whole lot better than I expected. Now, I expected to meet people and have a great time, and I was blown away by the amount of people who were coming up, shaking my hand, saying, I'm a course member, you've helped me so much, thank you so much.
You and your course helped me get a job. Love your shows. Keep going.
Thank you so much.
So many nice and friendly people. They didn't have to be that nice, didn't have to come up to me. So seriously, the Tesla community is absolutely amazing. So first and foremost, shout out to the Tesla community and, well, all the people who work for Tesla. Now, when it comes to the groundbreaking shockers that we got out of the shareholder meeting, well, there were quite a few. And I think first and foremost, it is an honor to be able to say that Elon Musk is not stepping down as CEO. And even though I think the company will be just fine without Elon Musk as CEO, we did just get JB from Redwood Materials, battery recycling company, back on Tesla board, which is great. I think that Tesla still needs Elon at this point, mostly because even though it feels like the car company is mature and it could really continue going on, the product development, much like the iPad, the lineup is already built. As Steve Jobs said, as he was in his final months, we've got 4 or 5 years of products lined up. I think that's true of the next few models of vehicles for Teslas, whether that's Cybertruck and then maybe Robotaxi, potentially that Model 2 that was teased. I think that second vehicle, because they mentioned they're working on 2 vehicles. One, I think, is the Model 2. The second, I think, looks a little bit more like a box van. I think that'll be the Robotaxi. But anyway, whether it's those or it's the Roadster or maybe even something else after that, not even considering the Semi, which is already up. I think that roadmap is already set. 4680s are already set. All of that is already set. Elon, though, is mission critical for not only making this artificial intelligence as solid as possible, not just for FSD, but for the robot, the Optimus robot. I want to play some clips here of what happened with the Optimus robot, because we saw footage of the Optimus that we actually haven't seen before, because as Elon said, it was, well, filmed yesterday. But let's just say, at least from the footage, which wasn't a live demonstration, so who knows, it could have taken 20 takes to get these shots, the robots actually look like they're able to start doing functional things, like opening every single finger individually, or manipulating something into a narrow box and moving their wrist to take their hand back out. It's impressive, and while there's a long way to go, that's the part of the vision that I think Elon is actually going to be really critical of. It's that next level of visionariness or envisioning, whatever, and the next level of integrating artificial intelligence with, well, things we need, like robots. Which, what was really remarkable was this idea that we might have 10 to 20 billion humanoid robots in the future. Elon suggested potentially 1 to 2 robots per person. And I thought that was really incredible. Because initially I thought to myself, okay, yeah, we'll count robots in tens of millions, like we'll count cars. We manufacture as a globe somewhere around 80 and sell around 80 million vehicles a year. Well, it's possible that, if you're looking at 10 billion humanoid robots over a 10-year period, that's 1 billion humanoid robots per year. Which means if Tesla wants to have, say, a 25% market share of cars or 20% market share of cars, a 20% market share of robots would be 200 million robots, and that's just 20%. Now, those are obviously extremely optimistic, bullish, hopium things. You cannot invest in the stock because of that kind of hopium. But I think that is why you still want Elon at Tesla. It's because you want the growth to continue at Tesla. When you do projections, fundamental analysis on a company, you want to project out what is the earnings per share growth going to be over the next 5 years and then beyond, because you don't want to get to the end of 5 years and then drop off to 5% growth and be a nominal growth company. You want the next S-curve to be there. And this is what Elon is providing, the next S-curve. So really great to hear that he's not stepping down. Next thing that obviously we have to talk about is advertising. Let's go ahead and play the clip on advertising. I'm going to make one little cut for compliance reasons because I cannot mention the name of certain products that I have. Of course, you can learn everything about me on the internet, just Google it. But before we talk about my opinions on advertising, I gotta insert, of course, an ad. And yeah, it's from the Financial Times. Here you go. Many of you like to know, where does Kevin read his news? And I personally love the Financial Times. I get the paper edition of the Financial Times. I read them online and on my iPad, but not only that, check this out. This is the Financial Times FT Edit app, and they have paid to promote this app in my video today. So thank you to the award-winning journalists at the Financial Times and the team at the Financial Times. I think this app is a phenomenal product. You can get 30 days totally for free by using the link down below. And here's how it works. They basically give you 8 of the day's top stories, and they sort them by date. So if I want to know about Tesla's resale values on Tuesday, March 28th, I can do that, and the story stays there, which is great, because one of the reasons I like the paper is because the stories don't change on that day. Whereas on the regular website, it feels like the stories are always changing and I'm missing stuff, right? The cool thing though is, let's say I missed yesterday's Financial Times edit. Watch this. I could just go to Monday, March 27th, boom, click on the 27th, and what happens? I could read about big tech facing a reckoning over a teen health crisis, or who's this Alvin Bragg guy? Or maybe I want to learn about Jay and Janet and how, even though Jerome Powell is supposed to be politically independent from politics and the Biden administration, he has to align with Janet Yellen via pressure, but she has to align with Joe Biden. Now, that's just an example of information that I learned directly from the FT Edit app, that even though Jerome Powell is supposed to be independent, he has to politically align with the political party that's in control to send the same message on financial stability. So, in my opinion, the FT Edit app is a fantastic way to simplify the way that you get news. And if you don't have enough time to read all the stories, just bookmark the story. So click the link in the description, link down below, receive a 30-day trial via the Apple App Store, iOS, and iPad. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, Elon, meet Kevin here.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, thanks. So Tesla is the largest position. I'm curious, I really think that some of the features that you highlighted here, like the over-the-air airbag deployments of improving the features, the safety features, are great things that we could be advertising. I know you've heard this many times before. I know you have. But
Sorry, go ahead, yeah.
$525 off every car this year is half of Netflix's advertising budget. $1,000 is the entire Netflix advertising budget, and I see their ads everywhere. Why not advertise these things that you told us here? I feel like nobody else knows about this. I just talked to Gordo, the Tesla bear, and he's still talking about 2016 New York Times pieces. These people are in the past, man.
That's like 7 years ago at this point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's actually, I talked to a lot of people, and they still think that like Teslas are like super expensive. And like, no, actually, the starting price for a Tesla is below the average auto price in the US. It's like, and that's a good thing. I mean, I think it's good that it's that way, you know? Like our goal was always to make cars that are affordable to the general public. So I hear you. I mean, I think, and it's indeed ironic that, you know, Twitter is like highly dependent on advertising. So, you know, here I am, it's like, you know, never used advertising really before, and now have a company that's highly dependent on advertising. So I guess I should say advertising is awesome and everyone should do it. but I think I hear your sort of larger point, which is that there are amazing features and functionality about Teslas that people just don't know about. And although there's obviously a lot of people that follow, like say the Tesla account and the you know, my account, whatever, on Twitter, to some degree, it is preaching to the choir, and the choir is already convinced. So I think what you're saying does have some merit. I believe in taking suggestions, so we'll try a little advertising and see how it goes. Okay. Okay. All right, I wasn't expecting that level of enthusiasm. But okay, it sounds like our shareholders, if I read between the lines, subtle as it is, are saying we should probably do some advertising. Okay, very well.
All right, so obviously it is a total honor to have Elon be excited about the potential of trying advertising. And I'm very excited that A, I had the opportunity to ask the question, but B, I'm also very excited for the Tesla community and really everybody a part of it, because I think everybody wins. In fact, I'll give you an example of what I think a good Tesla ad would look like. I'll give you a framework for it in this video, and then maybe in a future video, we'll try to simulate one, but I'll give you some ideas that we talked about. But first, I think it's useful to get my reaction briefly after the questions ended by giving you part of a clip with an interview with Ellie in space. Check out her channel on YouTube. She does interviews, covers a lot of things Tesla.
Well, I'm super happy because really it's the owners, it's the shareholders, it's everyone. Because the better the company does, all of those existing car owners, hey, more updates for them. Because here's the thing, Tesla will see, we're advertising about all we're doing for our existing owners. That's going to encourage more people to buy.
Right.
So it helps in both directions,
helps us
you know?
out.
And then of course it helps existing shareholders, everything.
So now I want to respond to some other arguments that people have made about advertising, that, oh, well, advertising doesn't matter. It's just, short-term shareholders that care about advertising. I actually think that is completely wrong. I believe that the more Tesla can convince the world by simply informing them earlier that Tesla is safer and Tesla is better in the features that it has and the value that it provides to the consumer, then what you're actually doing is you're multiplying the Tesla endgame. So if you're at 1.9 million vehicles of production now and you say, oh, well, it doesn't matter, we're selling every car we make anyway. Just short-term, stock speculators want Elon to advertise. That's wrong, because the longer it takes for Tesla to share their message, the more time there is for other companies in the longer term to compete. Right now, we as Tesla shareholders, obviously I'm a Tesla shareholder, we know that Tesla has a massive moat. The people who are familiar with full self-driving know that Tesla has a massive moat. That will deteriorate over time. In other words, it will be a lot easier for other companies now to get from 0% to 90% FSD, while we're at 95%, slowly getting to 96 and 97. But we want to brag about that lead now, because it actually gets more people into the network sooner, which in the end game could potentially increase your terminal expected value of vehicles produced per year. So Elon has a goal of producing 20 million vehicles per year as a terminal value. Now, this is important for anybody doing financial analysis in terms of a discounted cash flow, obviously, but even just practically, the jargon aside, think about it. If you get more people into the iPhone in 2007, you sell more iPhones in 2013, 14, 15, 16. So in other words, if you had 20% extra people who adopted the iPhone in 2007 when it first came out, your TAM would likely be substantially larger in 13 and 14 because you'd be so far ahead of the game. You'd have more money for more R&D. You'd have larger margin. You'd have larger pricing power. You'd essentially reach almost this point of an escape velocity lead. And I don't think that Tesla should assume that everybody knows what Tesla is doing. Here's a discussion I briefly had. I'll give you a few examples, and then I'll come up with an ad example too. Here's a discussion I had with Soft as I was leaving the Tesla event, and I argued that people don't even know about this new color Tesla has, the maroon. Take a look at that discussion.
Even in the Tesla community, people do not know about that color.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. I guarantee 70% of Tesla owners don't even know about that color. Yeah. So, I mean...
Or someone was tweeting at me today. I posted a picture of this, like, is that from Berlin?
Yeah.
It's here.
It's available.
Yeah.
Here's another one. Take a look at this clip where I was standing in front of the Cybertruck and I asked, what did Elon mean when he says this is an exoskeleton car and cars are generally built with an endoskeleton? I understand from a human point of view the difference of that, or humans endoskeleton, or think of maybe some kind of reptile or whatever, which is more exoskeleton. So now, from a car point of view, does that mean there's no frame on the inside? I mean, obviously there have to be axles. So what we decided to do was get somebody on the phone who actually tears these vehicles apart and ask them the question. And so here's what Sandy Monroe had to say specifically about that.
Elon said that the Cybertruck is an exoskeleton build, whereas most cars are endoskeleton. Doesn't this thing have a frame on the inside? Like, what's the scoop here?
There is no frame on the inside. It's an exoskeleton.
There's no frame inside?
It means that the outside skin is the strength.
Oh
There's
my.
no inside bones. There's no bones inside. It's only the outside skin. That's an exoskeleton.
So you're saying the margin is going to be bigger?
The margin? What margin?
Gross
Are you
margin.
talking about profitability?
That's all I talk about.
Okay. Yes, the margin is bigger. It's bigger because you only have to form one chunk of steel, whereas the other guys have to have an inner and outer structure. The inner structure is what they call black metal, and the outer structure is called body in white. So there you go.
So now when you walk all of this back, you realize, that's interesting, Kevin. I didn't know about the maroon color. I didn't know about that exoskeleton. I didn't know XYZ about the capabilities of full self-driving. I personally, I'm making those as examples because I knew some of these things. But what I didn't know was that my dad, who drives my Black X, you like my Black X? Good. What I didn't know is that Elon and the team at Tesla are continuously improving airbag deployment and emergency braking with software by analyzing accidents and then over the air updating the safety features of that vehicle. There is not a single car manufacturer that I'm aware of that does that. You have to buy the next model to get the next safety features. I mean, how many times do you look for a new car and then you think, oh, what safety features does it have? Well, what if it was just safety? Yes. And whatever new features came out, they just sort of opted in. That's fantastic. Even if the features are, potentially seemingly nominal, if it means you're obviously dead or not dead, that's a big deal, but out of work for 6 weeks after an accident or walking away from an accident, those are huge. And the economic value of that is also very important. Sometimes people are like, oh, Kevin, well, when a hurricane comes through, that's good for the economy, right? Because it means people are rebuilding homes. That's actually wrong, because what you're doing is you're robbing that potential spending power on something else. So you're robbing the economy. Yes, money is being spent, but money is essentially being lost to be spent. That is a problem, because now people aren't being more productive with their money. So anyway, I'm going on an economic tangent here. We could debate that in the comments. So let's think about an example of an ad. Now, before we talk about what kind of examples of ads Tesla should operate, I'm sorry, another ad, but this one's for me. It's just to remind you that I've got amazing programs on Building Your Wealth link down below. As you've seen, many people came up and said, thank you for the value you provide. That's my goal.
Longtime supporter, course member.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for being a member.
If I could provide more value, we all win. And I really believe that course members get some remarkable value. You want to learn fundamental analysis? Come on in. You want to learn about real estate fundamentals? Come on in. You want to learn about AI productivity? Come on in. We'd love to have you. So go to the link down below. Thanks so much. I personally think, and it's a discussion we had, that Elon should be thinking, and he said himself, he wants an ad that's informative. Well, an ad that's informative is something like what Ryan Reynolds used to do with Mint Mobile before he sold it to T-Mobile, which the irony of that is Mint Mobile was really just a way to sell people T-Mobile at a cheaper price because they use the same network. Technically, T-Mobile folks got prioritization, but it was the same network. If at $15 a month versus $70 a month, it's brilliant. But anyway, picture a Ryan Reynolds style ad, and it's just Ryan Reynolds and, hey, did you know full self-driving could do this? Yeah, that's a Tesla. The car doesn't care about your politics. It cares about your safety. And it's watching from X number of cameras, this, that, whatever. Something super simple, short and sweet like that. 15 seconds, 30 seconds from different actors, or just use Ryan Reynolds exclusively. I mean, if he's done with Mint Mobile, maybe you can now move on to Tesla and help them out. There's some massive opportunities to now go from this to safety stats to FSD stats, how FSD is 2.4 times safer than a regular driver in a certain circumstance, or night driving or rain driving, whatever, the various different stats. Or this airbag stat that we talked about. Or, hey, did you know the price of a Tesla now was actually only $39,900 or whatever, right? A lot of people, as Elon himself said, aren't even aware the cars have become this affordable. Or how about this screenshot, which was literally me taking a picture of the slide at the event, which showed that the total cost of ownership of a Tesla is comparable to that of a Toyota Corolla. Was it Corolla or Camry? Does anybody remember? I think it was Corolla. Anyway, Corolla is the entry-level version of the Camry. Another really phenomenal thing that I saw, which is unique to being at an event in person. Listen to what I say about Robin and the head of the board of directors, the director of the board of directors. This is actually something you just can't experience when you're not somewhere in person. And it's really magical. It's pretty powerful. Listen to this clip from the Alien Space interview.
When somebody had the shareholder proposal on Cobalt, and he's like, you know what? We'll do it.
Yeah.
And we'll do an audit. And what was remarkable was I looked at the director of the board, Robin, and I saw her reaction was kind of like, here goes Elon again. And I'm like, this is so cool. I'm seeing in real time the sort of dissension between like, there's Elon saying stuff and now we got to clean it up, you know?
Right.
I thought it was awesome.
Now, something else that was remarkable about the event was this idea that the more people apply for a company, the more desirable the company is potentially to work for. And the idea is that the more people apply, the more competitive it is to get into the company and the more talent actually ends up at the company. And if the best talent regularly goes to the best companies, then it will always be the best companies that end up innovating the most and the best, the most cost effectively, and ultimately provide the best shareholder value. The fact that they received 3.6 million job applications is phenomenal. Because think about it, even if they wanted, and that was in 2022, even if they wanted to hire their entire staff, again, they have about 126,000 employees. Think about that. 3.6 million applications divided by their entire staff of 126,000. They received 28.5 times as many applications as they actually have jobs. Now imagine available jobs. It's remarkable. Really interesting argument, one that I haven't thought of before. This 48-volt architecture part about saving and spending, 1/4 of the money on copper for wiring for cars. Probably, I would say, near on the relatively insignificant side from a margin point of view. We're not really going to see that end up in margin, but it's not wrong. Copper is a form of a precious metal, and this is good. I mean, this is why European countries generally, well, one of the reasons, use a 240-volt architecture as opposed to the 120, or some people say 110, that we use in our homes, because you could use thinner wiring, so less copper. So it's not wrong. Interesting. Love the idea about FSD beta growing exponentially, that the curve of adoption was going to look like a wall. I think Dave Faber, from his CNBC interview with Elon Musk afterwards, did hit on something that I was skeptical about myself. And we'll play that clip, but this idea that the value of the car would 5x overnight after essentially becoming a robotaxi. And Elon's using this rough math of, oh, well, if you use your car 7 hours a week, typically, and we can now use it, 35 hours a week because of robotaxi. Okay, now it's worth 5 times as much or whatever.
The value of a fully autonomous car is, we think, perhaps 5 times more valuable than a non-autonomous car.
Why? Okay, I'm not convinced on that. So we'll see, because it makes you wonder, when are you ever going to actually have to own a car, and does that then commoditize the value of a car? Does that reduce what you could sell a car for? Does it reduce your margins? We're not sure who the beneficiary is yet of robotaxi, so I don't include it in any of my formulas. We're not even there yet. Let's get through the next difficult 12 months, which Elon Musk told us the next 12 months would be difficult. So let's get through the next difficult 12 months and buy the dip, as he says, when the opportunity comes. And if you make it out of this, he's right. Tesla will emerge stronger. That is the case of every recession. A recession is a weeding opportunity. You weed out the talent that isn't actually talent. Your company is forced to become more efficient and less complacent. And then when you come out, you're a more mature, worked out company, so to speak. So we heard about this idea potentially of, in the future, the Roadster will have a Starlink package. I don't think we're going anywhere on the Roadster anytime soon. Sorry, I won't want to. It's not coming anytime soon. The Model S Plaid is great, but Jetpack Roadster, it's going to be a while. I honestly don't think until past 2030 It's just not going to be a priority. The energy storage segment growing faster than automotive, this is presently true. I would have loved a little bit of a sort of a Elon projection on what kind of sustainable growth rate, but we could speculate on that, whether it's 60, 70, 80%, 50%, however. But it is more than the automotive growth. I think there's also some potential to integrate some form of artificial intelligence chatbot at basically next to zero cost for ChatGPT or Bard or whatever into the voice commands of a Tesla. I think that would be quite useful because I think there's a lot of frustration around the quality of voice chat, but generally that's always the case. I feel the same way about Siri. I would obviously love to see Apple CarPlay in the Tesla. I don't think that's ever going to happen. GM is actually, they've got it in their cars. Now they're taking it out of some of their new cars. It's kind of remarkable. I looked up via Bard, actually, what the cost is for a manufacturer to include Apple CarPlay in the car. And as long as you have the equipment, there really isn't an extra cost, with the exception of programming it and making sure it operates and coordinates with your system. So I still think there's a potential missed opportunity there just because there's so much of an ease of integration. But I understand reading off your calendar, coordinating with FSD is probably a lot more complicated than we think. But bottom line out of all of this, I think this was a phenomenal presentation. We know the next macro cycle is going to be difficult. When it comes to interest rates, somebody asked, why don't we do 10-year car loans? Because cars generally don't keep their value that long. Elon said, well, you have to resell these loans. It's called securitizing these loans, which is you bundle them up and you sell little bonds of them. Nobody wants to hold a 30-year bond on cars because those cars are going to be worthless in 30 years. That's why it works on houses, not on cars. But it's probably a good thing for affordability anyway. Otherwise, people will stretch their payments ridiculously and never build wealth, which is bad. Not a big fan of buying cars. But I do think that when the Federal Reserve begins cutting interest rates, margins will skyrocket at Tesla. I mean, there's no question about that. I mean, the entire market should ride up. But think about it. Tesla's subsidizing a lot of their rates right now down to 3.9%. And you know what? Most people probably weren't aware of that. Hey, where's Ryan Reynolds on TV? Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds. Did you know that Tesla will let you finance a car with full self-driving for a 3.9% interest rate for 5, 6, 7 years? Whatever you want. Yeah, I didn't either. And that's it. Just ended little clips like that, little 15-second clips, but it's got to be Ryan. He can be in his little, in front of his green screen background. You don't even have to do much work. I think there's so much phenomenal value you could provide. And see, none of it is clickbaity. None of it is like trying to sell you on music or cars rolling down the road. It's just valuable information, which is obviously what I try to provide every day on the channel. And hopefully you subscribe, share the video. Hopefully you enjoyed the benefit to all of the Tesla community of Elon getting on the bandwagon or the train of actually advertising Tesla and the amazing value and the incredibleness of this community. So this is a win for everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to all of those people again who came up and shook my hand. Here's some more of you. Shout out to all of you. Big shout out also to Jose and Sammy. Y'all amazing. Thank you so much for the +1s. Y'all rock. Christian and I had a great time and look forward to being at future meetings. Martin at Investor Relations, you're amazing too. We'll see y'all soon. Thanks.